Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the CGL Xbox Tier 2 Finals. I am Simbabble, joined here by Arcas. How you doing, buddy? Are you as hyped as I am for these games?
I am extremely hyped. We came in about a minute quicker. We're going to get these games as fast as we can, and they're going to be a treat to watch.
Indeed, we have two absolute titans of the Tier 2 tier with us tonight. We have Incendia versus Vazdem, and Incendia looking pretty hot coming into this finals. I mean, the regular season was not something to be sniffed at. They went 8-1, only dropping one series, and their map differential was 20. Now, that is quite impressive going into this final. You've got to fancy your chances, but next to them, we do have Vazdem, who are looking equally good with a plus 15 map differential. So this is bound to be a belter. I mean, Arcas, have you got any notion of who might be taking this? Have you got a favorite here? If I'm forcing you to flip a coin, who's your money on?
It would probably have to be an actual coin flip. This is a toss-up in almost every sense of the word. So they do have a higher map count, like map differential, but that is not the be-all end-all. You could be really good on a very specific map throughout the series, and that could just really help you get that map differential up. We will have to see on just throughout the game how it goes, but it's a definite toss-up.
Absolutely. It is very, very much too close to call at this stage, but I know what you're all here for. You want us to jump into the games. We are doing a first to 4 for these finals, so strap in. It's going to be a good one. We, I believe, are ready to go to our first map here. You want to talk to us a little bit about Oasis and what sort of comes with this map?
Yeah, there's 3 separate sub-maps on the map of Oasis. The map that we are going to currently go on, and I'll explain each one as we get to it. This map has a lot of high ground, a lot of open ground. Definitely going to see that Farah from Incendia. That's going to be a huge advantage. They're going to go very long range with the McCrees, an Echo. So very long, rangy map, a lot of high ground.
Absolutely. As we roll out here, Fiery Quartz on this McCree, perhaps sniffed out a Farah on Incendia here as Vazdem make their way over to the high ground. Beaten, however, by Incendia, who are already set up. They're going to make this choke point quite a bit difficult to get through. Cactus already falling. There is no mercy for the side of Incendia here, which is a damn good start. If you are Vazdem here, a good pick might seal the deal. Has will take out Shotta as well. There's 2 picks in the favor of Incendia, and they are going on to point here. It will be unlocked for them as Krim finishes off Ollie as well. Pretty convincing start here for Incendia.
Yeah, Incendia were just able to get the positional advantage off the bat and just picked everyone off one by one. There's not much you can do there as them. You just have to get there first. And if they didn't, they did get their the Baptiste immortality filled up. That was not enough. One person falls, it's just everyone else crumbles around him, and that's what we saw happen there. Ults online for Incendia, they're about to have 2.
Absolutely. In this Coalescence, if you're running into a fairly brawl hybrid comp, I suppose, which Vazdem are running, this Coalescence can be devastating. It's going to take care. Wait, Fiery Quartz, she's already taken out Haz. That's perhaps the opening that they require. So clapping back, finding the Sigma, but the Shatter is so large. 5-3 in the pin, onto the point, says bye-bye Frosty. Back to spawn you go. Vazdem, with the blink of an eye, flipped that point. Oh, goodness gracious, that was over before it even started.
Yeah, Incendia were able to ult first with the Coalescence, but they just were not able to sustain through the fight. The Farah flanked around, they got the Shatter off. I believe they also used Baptiste ult there, and they were just able to out-sustain the fight, out-frag Incendia, and they take the point.
Looking very good, and Fiery Quartz has this Deadeye ready to go from this high ground. Will have a Baptiste immortality field to play around as well. We'll just let them stick the Deadeye for a little bit longer, perhaps is what they opt to do. They're not quite dropping onto this low ground just yet, and the Noon comes out here to separate the bunch. Diva Bomb lapped over the top, trying to get the High Noon, but it doesn't come through. A dueling High Noon from Haz will, however, take out Olive, and that, the flashbang finish onto Shocker as well. This man is saying this town is only big enough for the 2 of of us and is getting the job done. That is 4 final blows for Haz on that McCree. He used his Deadeye that fight and is already 50% to his next one. Good grief.
Yeah, that was extremely high level McCree play there. Both McCrees instantly ult, take out the Baptiste more for each side, kind of leaving it at a stalemate, and then the flashbang onto the Ferret. Once that Ferret is gone, there's just no more frag damage left, and Incendia are able to take it. Ults on the line.
Yeah, the Valkyrie coming out from Ultraviolet straight away, dropping onto point here now. DPS a little slow to the party, and the Gravitic Flux coming out will send them into the air, but drop them back down and stay very healthy. Goddess low, however, the barrage is unleashed. Will take out that hit scan threat, but the damage has been done. The picks are already in the favor of Incendia. Doesn't look like this is spinning anytime soon. 4v4 on the point at the moment, and now it's Cactus's turn for that Valkyrie. The Diva Bomb once again let loose from Crime. Doesn't find anything, but might just back Incendia into that corner here, into a little bit of trouble. Crim will find a kill onto Fiery Quartz, and the trays just keep coming back and forth. Frost is so very low, clinging onto this by the skin of his teeth. Won't be able to hold it just yet. The picks are in favor now of Vazdem, and they switch the point over at 99%. I mean, Arcas, that is what they needed to do right there and then.
Yeah, that comes down to the Mercy Valk from Vazdem. They just were able to sustain through the point, waited for the respawns to come in, got the respawns, and then wiped the rest, whoever was stalling on point for Incendium. Ult's gonna be online again this fight. Both Reinhardt's and the Moira ult for Vazdem.
Atlas Saddler's also with that Gravitic Flux again, which is going to be quite brutal, as there's no defensive ult on the side of Incendia to deal with it, and a Coalescence to lap on the top of it. That is a lot of damage coming in here. See Fiery Quartz just getting out of the way. He knows he's got that poison, he wants to use it. Shatter comes down, and Haz will finish off his McCree counterpart, but the Shatter coming down from God will not find anything. Frosty trying to drop his, but the second shield will hold true, and no will hit the ground here. Ollie will take out Cactus with those sticky bombs. The Coalescence is just giving God one hell of a ride here, as picks now start to favor Incendia. The overtime ticks down, and it doesn't seem like anyone can touch.
No one can touch. That is the first map going to Incendia. Very well played. The McCree there. The Moira for Vazdem got flashed out of their Coalescence, if I saw that correctly. That was a huge flashbang.
Yeah.
Has got the first pick, denied the ult, and you get the first pick, you're up in ult. George was then able to coalesce uncontested. They're just able to sustain through the fight. There's not much Vazdem can do. You saw God on the Reinhardt just trying to move around. Doesn't have any support while getting Coalescence. There's not much you can do there. This map, once again, a lot of high ground, even more high ground. Bit more of a brawl this time. It's not as rangy, it's not as open as it is. There are some really nice sightlines. We're going to see a lot of range here against both teams running in the McCree, the Soldier, the Echo. A lot of range with a bit of a brawl.
Yeah, and you might see that Echo come into play, being able to play around these natural sightlines. I mean, Fiery Quartz is hot on the tails of George there, and we'll finish him off. A double pin kill for God, immediately living up to his PSN or Xbox tag there, being a god of the Reinhardt's. Fiery Quartz also picking up 2 kills for herself there as well. And Vazdem, very convincingly, take the point first here.
Yeah, this is what Vazdem, they fixed their mistake from the first round, first fight. They weren't able to get there first. This time, they got the Lucio. They are running more of a brawl comp. They have the Zarya instead of the Diva. Incendia are now swapping on a Lucio. But Vazdem able to get there first with the brawl, with the Lucio, and they're able to get the picks first. This is exactly what they needed to change from last round.
Yeah, and the Hanzo now instead of the Echo here is an all-out brawl breaking out on the point here. Shield for Frost is very low, forced to just dip and get out of the way ever so slightly here, as Haz is trying to find an angle to get something done. Shatter advantage to God after that previous fight as well, so he's going to be looking to drop that soon. The Flame Strike will come down and kill up the Saddler. That is quite the start. Without the Zarya, not much damage can be done from this team from the front line. Frosty picks up the other tank and says, God, you got to go back to spawn here. Shotter will take out Haz. The damage is done. This is all going to be a stall for as much percentage as they can, but 50% on the point, not too bad here, Arcas.
This is a mirror of last round. Incendium, when they first lost the point, it was at 51%. Vazdem now 51%. The moment that up went down, there's no off tank. The off tank really is supporting any ground that the main tank takes. So the moment the Zarya went down, Frosty went in, pushed the god on the Reinhardt, just went in, saved the ult, and now we're gonna see that ult fight play out here.
Yeah, the Diva Bomb comes in, but the grab will keep Frosty at bay, following up with a pin to get rid of that shield. Now it's Gold's turn to pin into the backline. Shotter with a double high noon there will take out George and Ultra. No support. The Buys are now out from Fiery Quartz as well, just to get the job done nice and quickly. They're flipping this point over, lickety squirt, and they have control again, 40 to 51.
They do have control of the point, but they do not have control. They're not coming in with the advantage of this next fight. They had to use 4 or 5 ults that fight to take the point. It's going to be a double Reinhardt shatter, and then Incendia is going to have 4 extra ults.
And they're not hanging around. The shatter comes out there from God and will put Crime on his back. The pigs already favoring Incendia. They did not want to waste any time. Just like you said, they knew that they had the ultimate advantage to go in and win that there, and that's exactly what they did, saving quite a few ultimates in the bank. The shatter, the beats, and the high noon available for them for this next fight, but they have to win it.
They do have to win it. One thing I'd like to know is Frosty was the first one to get the ult in the game, I believe, and they still haven't used it. It's great discipline with the ult, hasn't needed to use it. Gonna be able to just win another fight here.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems a bit like God is a little separated from the rest of his team, but perhaps that was intentional to set up for a play. Quickly shut out by Haz. However, the shatter coming down will get blocked. A flashbang will signal Frosty's demise there. Haz will cut back and find Olive, taking out that Moira. Huge chunks of healing now missing for Vazdem, but they're going to push forward nonetheless. Flashbang, Phantom Hammer onto Haz will get him taken out thanks to the Helix rockets. Fiery Quartz and Shotter is going to work on the points now. Clicking head after head. Ultraviolet will trade with him, however. Numbers once again favoring Vazdem, and they flip the point. This is final fight here, right, Arcas?
It should be. There might be one more fight if Incendia are able to win this, but this is going to be setting Vazdem into overtime. They're going to have the ult advantage here by quite some time. The longer this fight goes on, the more Incendia are able to even this up. The ult's already doing.
Yeah, the beat comes out, the Diva Bomb over the top to try and make some space to pry this point open. Shotter, however, finding Haz with that Deadeye. Now the Dragon's released off the beat as well, courtesy of Ollie. Crime will find a pick, and the Coalescence equally cracking Vazdem's defense as they are flipping this point on its head. And like you said, it might not just be final fight, but I'm not sure if anyone can touch from the side of Incendia here. From the side of Vazdem, forgive me.
Yeah, it's going to be Vazdem that are going to have to get on the point. They are going to be able to. They're going to swap. They do have the only ult in the game, and that could be a huge factor in who wins this fight, especially since they're going to have the advantage with the Reinhardt ult being higher than Incendia's Reinhardt.
Absolutely, but Shotter going down to Ollie straight away is not the way that Vazdem wanted to start his fight, and a big shatter comes out from God, hits Frosty, and that is numbers in their favour now that they surely cannot squander this opportunity to take this map and claim it as their own. Fiery Quartz is doing their damnedest to stay on this point and keep it alive at the moment. 3-3, it's close as hell, and Fiery Quartz isn't done just yet. Set his sights on Crime as well, and now Shotter's back on this Barra, trying to be this aerial threat that's difficult to deal with in these overtime situations. Just trying to stall this out. Ultraviolet climbing the walls, and will find that beat to come out just to stall a little bit longer. Now it's Frosty's turn to drop this shatter when he chooses fit to do so. It is dropped right now and finds the Tracer on the ground. Fiery Quartz and Shotter will fall. Damage characters are now missing for Vazdem, and it's turning on its head once again. Just a point flip at this point. Pulse Bomb ready for Haz, but it ticks over. Lucio can't touch, and Incendia will take Oasis.
That was just play after play. We saw the Reinhardt Shatter get used very early on. The Tracer there, able to capitalize on it. Then got 2 extra picks. Almost won the fight there, but the stall was just enough from both sides to allow everyone to come back. And Incendia able to have the ult advantage. They didn't have the ult advantage, but they were able to sustain long enough for the ult's economy to flip in their favor, and then they come in with the Shatter, with the Sound Barrier, able to wipe the team, didn't need the Pulse Bomb, so they had extra in case and they're able to take it 2-0, putting them up 1 map in the series.
Yeah, certainly a very close start. I mean, you may be thinking that because Incendia is first seed and Vazdem is second seed, that you're going to get a very one-sided affair coming into these finals, but that surely is not the case here. Vazdem have shown us that they're not here to take second place. They want the glory. They want to be the champions, which is really, really great to see. And even though the score was 2-0, it's still very much a close oasis, right? I mean, it was 99 to 99 on the final point, and I believe it was 99 to 80 something on the first point. So certainly not a one-sided affair just yet, as I believe we're heading into King's Row. So now, if you are looking at both of those teams and how they played, because they both went for Brawl. I mean, I was looking at Incendia's and saying that that was probably the stronger Brawl of the two of them. What do you think?
My cat getting on the stream aside.
I did notice that. That was very adorable.
Yeah, Vazdem were able to use the Brawl. If they can bring the Brawl out unexpectedly, they'll just rush in with the Brawl. That very much suits them. That would give them the advantage. That would give them the first point. If they come out with, let's say, a dive and then swap to a Brawl, then they might be able to kind of fake Incendia out and take the point. Incendia do have just a bit better of a Brawl. They were able to swap onto the Brawl and then take the point back with the ult economy disadvantage from that first fight on the second map of Oasis. It's gonna be a very close game though.
Yeah, it's certainly, and like you said, it seems like Incendia has that aggressive instinct, which might just take them over the edge here. We are heading into King's Row now, I believe, so strap in. It is 1-0 to Incendia at the moment. You are watching the Tier 2 finals as we head to King's Row, and just like we predicted, it seems that both teams are going to be running the Brawl, Arcas.
Yeah, they're going to be playing the Brawl that suits their styles best. Incendia play a lot more with the Ana Baptiste. That's going to go into their style a lot more. Vazdem going to come in with the Brig Lucio. This is very reminiscent of the old GOATS composition that we used to see way back. They're actually going to stop the Brig off to an Ana, so they're going to be a bit more heals. Both teams running the same DPS line and tanks, but the same DPS line, which is a bit more fluctuating on King's Row. The Mei, the McCree, they're going for a long range and then just stall whenever they can, maybe divide the team in half whenever they can. It'll be very interesting to see how the attack Mei comes in.
The defensive wall coming up very nicely there already from Ollie, looking good, and Shotta will take his turn using that wall, takes out the line. That's certainly a good start for Vazdem as they can now start to move on to the point. No Zarya bubbles available, and you can tell Frosty's struggling a little bit. The anti-nade onto God will slow him down ever so slightly, but not enough to stop him going for that pin and a little bit of the tactical crouch. This point, as soon as it started, 40 seconds on the clock, they've already capped it up, Arcas.
Yeah, this is their styles playing perfectly into one another. Vazdem, especially, they have that Lucio, they come in, they're very quick, they surprise in Incendia, they just come in first, get the first kill, they go in, they use the wall to give them base instead of the Reinhardt shield, and they're able to just push forward and take the point.
Yeah, and the Lucio on the side of them as well, just needs to take a speed boost onto them. And we see another fight breaking loose already. Both Maywall's committed now, so they're not going to have that winch to operate around just yet. But Shatter's coming up for God here. The window will be dropped, however, by Ultraviolet, just to stave off some of the damage. God will get caught with his pants around his ankles there, and will be sent back to spawn, sending the rest of the team packing. Vazdem will be going back to spawn. Incendia just holding on there with quite a nicely timed window amplification matrix there, Arcas.
Yeah, that came in. That is just spike damage coming through. It doesn't matter if you have the wall comes in.
The wall comes in after Shotta takes out Haz, which is huge, and the Nano will be committed on Frosty, but he is exactly that, frozen up and up without a paddle, in trouble. Now the grab from Upper Saddler will clean up the remnants of Incendia there. That fight broke apart immediately with a Nano, a Maywall, and a quick pick. And Vazdem now keeping this payload moving. I mean, the beat was also committed from Incendia there to try and keep Frosty alive, I believe. The Nano and the beat.
Yeah, well, they put in both support ults to keep the only ult they have up that's like an attacking ult. that they had to keep the Reinhardt up to get that shatter off. And they couldn't. So they don't have any other ult. They can't do anything else. This game is extremely fast tempo.
Oh, wonderful. May ult, and then the Blizzard dropped from Shotta, and they're finding pick after pick after pick. Shotta with 2 clean headshots there. Let's finish off Frosty and Ollie. The second point unlocked. These fights are happening so gosh darn quickly here, and another stagger potentially onto Haz there from the Sadlers. Ultimates online for both teams here, and it seems as though Vazdem aren't stopping anytime soon.
No, it's going to be an even ult fight here, but Vazdem are going to have the support ult advantage. Those ults will be able to keep the fight alive.
Indeed, the beat coming out to counter that Diva Bomb from Prime there, and the Blizzard now unleashed. Shatter as well from Frosty will pick up Shotta and Fiery Quartz. No damage available for Vazdem, and they, you know what, we've had enough, and they back on out of the point. Hey, wall just out there from Ollie to slow down the reset potentially, and not a bad idea considering Vazdem have 4.5 minutes here.
Yeah, Vazdem have enough time to just group all 6 ults twice to win 2 fights. That's all they need to really do is win 2 fights, and they have it, and they have the time to do it. So it's not a matter of how or if, it's a matter of when.
The Shatter comes down. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it was enormous, finishing off Ollie already just with that damage. A Nano Reinhardt in Frosty now to retaliate, but it won't be enough, and he will fall as well. Shotta does take a McCree Peacekeeper to the head and will go down, but this cart probably is carrying on moving here. I mean, these fights keep coming out of nowhere and then finishing so quickly, Arcas.
Yeah, and Incendia are now in such a hard spot here because they're down 2 ults, and it's 2 huge ults being used.
Yeah, Beat used the Graviton Surge from up the saddle will come out, and the Nano committed onto God. He's allowed to just swing to win here, as he does untold amounts of damage around the cards. You're not going to want to touch that unless you absolutely have to, and Ultraviolet seems like the man for the job at the moment. George in a spot up on the will go down, but Haz will clap back and find Shotta, finish him off with a right click. Big Shatter coming out from God. He has to do something to close this out here. He's so dangerously low. Will lose his life, and the beat now comes out from the defending team to stave off the attackers just for now. But my, that was so close.
Yeah, and then you were just able to build the ults up long, like just able to sustain the fight long enough to build the ults up, and that's their only saving grace. Vazdem could have very easily just used their other 3 ults. They're gonna have an ult, or it's gonna be even on ults here once Insidia's Ana George gets that nano. It's gonna be even, but right now Vazdem have the advantage, and they're gonna use it.
Yeah, they drop the Deadeye straight away. Find out Ollie, this team might be a bit more devastating than they expected. Indeed it is, and Fiery will fall. Tries to commando roll out the way, but finds it to no avail. God will find Ollie here, but the damage has been done, and they'll be sent back to spawn once more, and all of a sudden, that 4.5 minute time bank ain't looking so bad now, Arcas.
Yeah, no, that's cut in half at this point. Vazdem already won 1 fight, so they're on track to win the 3rd point. They just need to find a plan to get in there, use the ults that they have, possibly build up a few more, maybe take just no ults this fight, get some ults out and come in next fight. See what they do.
Yeah, the nanoed Reinhardt now for Frosty will come out pinned high into enemy territory, but he lands the Shatter and finishes off Cactus just with a slam alone. Crime ready to finish off another member as well. Picks will go in their favor, but Haz is hot on the trigger, picking up his 3rd kill of that team fight there. And you keep saying that they need to be saving ultimates here, but Vazdem keep committing 1 or 2 ultimates per fight. I think you're absolutely right. They need to go for an eco push here. 1 minute 30 on the clock.
Yeah, well, this is the fight that they could actually do a non-eco push. They used the Mei to get their 2 tank ults off. Incendia had to use all their ults. They just building up the Reef ult now, so they could go in 3-1 and take this. Pretty convincing.
Absolutely they could! But the Blossom coming out from Ollie finds 3. Fiery Quartz will end his life and make him pay for his transgression. But that is not nearly enough to finish this map, and goodness gracious, we are now into final fight territory. Incendia seems to be rotating their ults absolutely beautifully. Just committing 1, just committing 2, and getting it done, and forcing Vazdem to commit ults in retaliation as well. I mean, Arcas, this has been a really good hold.
Yeah, they're gonna have the High Noon bomb combination, they can get him from both sides, and they're gonna go for it.
Yeah, they do exactly that, and the beat has to come out from Cactus to stave it off here, trying to stabilize, and they will go into this fight full HP, but T2's a little out of position. If up the Saddler wants to go for this Graviton Surge, the T2 will not be available to eat that up, and that's exactly what happens. Up the Saddler drops it down, finds two, the high nuke now coming out from Haz, will finish off Shotter. Cactus also falling to the hands of Haz, and he is single-handedly holding this off. Ollie wants to join in on the fun and finds Quartz as well as God will fall. 10 seconds remain on this clock. A Nano Frosty right up against the spawn doors near enough means that nobody for Vazdem will be able to touch. 3 seconds on the clock. Cactus making his damnedest to touch. He will not get there in time, and that is where the payload will stay.
Incendia, just there's so few words. It's a masterclass of how to rotate ults. When they're down heavily, they're just able to build them up just in the nick of time. When they're down heavily, they're able to use the one ult that they have to win the fight outright before the fight even starts, so they can have the time to build up more ults to use later on. Just such an intricate ult economy that Incendia had down there. They were down
and
4 minutes. All that you need to do is just push in twice with 6 ults, and in theory, like that's basically a 98% chance of winning, and they have the time to do that twice.
Yeah. I mean, again, like you were saying about the ultimates, though, I mean, like, as soon as Vazdem had 1 or 2 ultimates online, like, Cactus had the beat, but he was forced to use the beat in reaction to Crime's Diva Bomb self-destruct, which meant that they were going in and ult down, and I mean, your self-destruct isn't a particularly valuable ult unless you can combo it with something else, so you're pretty happy to toss that out and hope it gets a kill, whereas your beat, your sound barrier is so important for your team fight, certainly if you're playing in a brawl and you don't have a Batiste with a immortality field or something like that, but now, all eyes on Incendia, it is their time to attack. We're seeing an Ash come out from Shotter here. What do you think of that?
They're going to be playing a lot more of the long range. Their Mei was a lot better at attack, used that wall as a secondary shield. So they're going to just standing back, getting the damage in, where the Mei can't really affect them besides the wall, but the Mei can't damage and they can't get hit by the brawl.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, yeah, that was an incredible display of exactly what you just talked about. That they might be able to stave off that line of sight from Shotter, but will not be able to stop Shotter just moving around and then landing a fat dynamite on that high ground. If Incendia want to get through here, they're going to have to rotate onto these high grounds. The Shotter is holding, never mind, I spoke too soon, I've cast a cursed Shotter, and will be taken out by a right-click icicle from the dead shot Ollie, and then it has opened the point up to no end here. Has now on the point of menacing presence to say the least, as Crime will find Fiery Quartz here. The defense is thinning as we speak, as Ollie now forcing forward and powering ahead with Frosty at his back. The Walker just does not catch God, but the point is unlocked, and I mean, goodness, that was equally quick, and off the back of another stellar DPS performance. Am I right, Arcas?
Yeah, but it's not done. They used the coalescence, and they're still going in.
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. The Mayhole coming out, that is ridiculous from Ollie. They're not done, and they want to keep pushing it all the way here. One member remains on the payload, and it seems like Incendia are pushing all the way up to second point, which is, I mean, like we said at the beginning of this game, tremendous aggression from Incendia, which is what they had in the brawl that gave them the slight edge. It looks like they're umming and ahhing about holding this position permanently. They're going back to the payload now, but they've certainly left their mark on King's Row already.
Yeah, Incendia just have the advantage, and they're not stopping. They have the ult. They need to use it to keep the Mei alive, and they just continue and parlay it into more picks, more staggers, and another fight win. Now, they can use ult once again.
Yeah, Fiery Quartz drops the Deadeye and will find Haz. That's a lot of damage missing. God pulled off from the fight here, not able to do a whole lot of much until it's dropped, as is his Shatter, which is bigger than life itself. God Almighty, what a Shatter! Lands the entire team on their backs and sends them packing. And this brutal stagger now coming through onto Grimes will finish him off. My goodness, the Noon has wants to keep this going. He goes for the high noon, and Olive will be rezzed up in the backline here. This is just one long fight that will not end. Frosty is anti-nated on the point, and the Coalescence doing its best to try and keep him up. Ultraviolet will fall, and Shotter's trying to find his stride here. Will do just that, but is caught behind this main wall now, stuck between a Rock and a Reinhardt. Frosty now going to work and cleaning up the Diva Bomb, lapped over the top. Prime will find two, the Ash and the Mercy. Once again, the herd is thinning for the defense. Vazdem are all out of members. George will fall, but the strength in numbers favors Incendia as they will unlock second point unless there can be a touch from Vazdem. I mean, Arcas, holy moly.
Yeah, Incendia, like that fight was kind of just one fight. There's a stall on the Diva, high noon kills two. Second fight. It's just one continuous story. It's just two chapters and a bit of an interlude there. And it's just such a high pace of play. It's really incredible.
Unbelievable stuff. Now as we see the third point unlocked, once again a similar time back, 4.5 minutes, near enough there for Incendia to not even finish the map, remind you. Shotta has this wonderful vantage point on the high ground, however, and this is going to be tough for them to shift, right?
Yeah, the high ground covers most of the area. You only have the only two people, or there's three really that can contest, but there's not much you can do with the contest at all.
Absolutely big grab coming in there, and the Mabel in response, thanks to Ollie once again being the third tank for the team. White block on the point, this is not going to be very good for him at all. Frosty in a lot of trouble, and Ollie will fall here. Shatter available for Frosty, I don't think they're going to want to turn this fight. Shatter dropped, and will find no problems here. There's not going to be another fatality unless that anti-nade has anything to say about it. Olive with a massive one into the backline will finish off Frosty and has, and send the attackers packing.
Yeah, Vazdem finally able to find their footing. The Junkrat, the Ash, a lot of damage coming through. They have the high ground. They're just spamming it downward. It's very hard to protect against that. They do have the Diva. They have the McCree. They have the May, but it's still very hard to cover all the spots. Plus, take the brawl on from the bottom.
Absolutely. That's what they're doing, and they're letting this Riptire go. Has, however, is smart for the danger. We'll take that out. God finishing off Ultraviolet as well, just making this attack even more difficult as this Bob is bang smack in the middle of where the attackers want to come from here. Shot up from on high will keep clicking heads, and they're going to have to go back and rethink this strategy. Like you said, I think they need to start sending that Diva up onto that high ground, but it's sort of a catch-22 where you're thinning out your brawl if you do that, right?
Yeah, it's you focus on something coming from your sides. You're then splitting your forces away from the middle, and the team just pushing through the middle.
Ooh, okay, Diva Bomb over the top here from the pin to stop the shield from protecting anyone. Ends up taking out the Zarya instead. God will find a massive shatter. 3 final blows for him that fight. He says, get out of my third point and head back to spawn. And that's exactly what Vazdem have done. Their tails are now tucked between their legs. Vazdem with a fantastic hold so far. And again, the attackers only have 2 minutes. They're going to have to come up with a different plan because at the moment, they're executing the definition of insanity, Arcas.
Yeah, well, it looks like they are going to execute that different plan with Zarya. They are going to have ult here as well.
Oh, Ollie finds an amazing headshot again. That's exactly what he did on the first point here, which has allowed Haz to open up for the high noon. The payload, unfortunately, being the best main wall in the game there for him, will not help him find anything right there and then. But Frosty now has this shatter, ready to drop, ready to finish this. Fiery Quartz has this tire. Let's the shield is strong from Frosty. They are backing up, just waiting and biding their time as Ollie does fall there to God. And now Shotta once again is on this high ground, just shooting fish in a barrel here. Arcas, I mean, Ollie on that May is so devastating, right?
Yeah, although the May has a bit of a counter consequence. Whenever they put the wall up, we've seen at least twice God come from behind the wall and get a huge shatter. We saw it on Streets, and now we saw it two fights ago with the grab fight there. So that is a counter consequence of what's going on. Oh, freezing the top.
Huge shatter unleashed there, and Ollie with a tremendous blizzard to follow up on it. The coalescence is committed as well from George. Bob is the only member on the point to slow this down at the moment as it inches closer and closer to this golden box of victory. Only Moira remains. The beat drops down, the tire comes in but will be deleted, and now it is no one available to touch. Incendia once more have taken King's Row. My oh my, what a series, Arcaz.
Yeah, that last fight, Incendia were finally able to really get the ults off first. They were able to finally push in onto Vazdem. Vazdem, they used that Riptire on the fight before to take the shield out of the Ragnar. That allowed the Ashe to get a lot of damage in. That damage gave the Ashe the ult, and the Junkrat was able to build up that ult for the next fight. They weren't able to get those ults really off because they weren't able to ult first, but they set themselves up to get that fight win with the necessary ults, and I think it was even. I'm not exactly sure, we'd have to go back, but it was very close of the ult economy. Both teams very equally matched. It came down to just getting all 4 ults that they had at once. Well, Vazdem had to trickle in their ults. They had to use the Bob to stall the car. They had to bring in the Riptire to just try and throw the Riptire in and get something. Unable to. They had to do the sound barrier in between both those. They couldn't get the shatter off. I think it was 4 to 4 ults there.
So I think you're right.
Yeah, all ults at once compared to just trickling in the ults. It's just too much to overcome. They can't stall it out long enough. If they were able to bring the shatter back in, they might have been able to stall it enough, but we will never know. So still
we will never know.
Game.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
extremely mirrored as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was so impressive from both sides, and again, such a close map. It really was down to the wire, but sometimes Incendia is showing us that the best method of attack is sometimes just all pressing your ultimates at the same time. We're going to go to a short intermission here, guys, before we head to map 3. Don't go anywhere and get your predictions in on those channel points. Arcas and Simbabble will see you after this short little break. We'll see you then. Welcome back, everyone. Tier 2 CGL Xbox Finals. And my goodness, what a series we've had so far. 2-0 at the moment to Incendia. However, it has been a lot closer than the score would imply. And I mean, what a mirror matchup we have had from these both teams, Arcas. And I mean literally mirror matches, am I right?
Yeah, it is just like Simon says, one mimics the next. Incendia on the races, they take the first sub-map, and then they take it first, and then they lose it at 51. Vazdem come in on the second sub-map, take it first, and then lose it at 51. On King's Row, we see them swap compositions. Vazdem came out with the attacking of the Lucio Brawl, then brought it all the way to second with 4.5 minutes left, and then just got stalled all the way through until the end. Incendia come out with the Lucio Brawl. Vazdem aren't running it this time. They come out with the Lucio Brawl. They're able to take the point really early. Second fight, although first second fight, bring it to the capture second to the third point with 4.5 minutes left. They get stalled all the way into the end, but it's just one fight that made that map. That made really both maps. It comes down to just one fight at the end. It goes Vazdem, they would have won King's Row. It goes Vazdem, they would have brought it to a third on a waste. It's just one map, and Incendia just have that something about them where we're just able to clutch that last fight out, that one extra fight they need out. They're just able to just come in with an ult economy that just, the ults just align for them almost perfectly, just perfectly come in when they need them, and they're able to use them very coordinated.
Absolutely, and if ever there is a map type where one fight decides it all, it is 2CP, and that is exactly where we're heading next. We're off to Hanamura. Now, this is a first to 4 series, so it won't all be over for Vazdem if they do not take Hanamura. However, I don't fancy Vazdem's chances at a reverse sweep. I don't know about you, Arcas.
From what we saw in King's Row on the last bit there, I said, Vazdem, they need to just combo their ults, get 6, do a dry push, then like are an eco push, and then just go all 6 once they get like 2-3 of Insidia's ults out. They were unable to do that. They're now running a Sombra, so they might be able to coordinate that a bit better. But Insidia were able to pop 4 ults at one time and win that last fight. And with 2 CP, that favors Insidia heavily. Now, Vazdem winning the next 2 maps, we'll get to that, but I do believe it's going to be a very long series.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Looks as though Fiery Quartz wants to teleport into the point here as Shotta just doing what a Sombra does best and scouts out the opposing composition. We'll swap over to that Hanzo, presumably for some poke, and don't really fancy playing that Sombra into the Torbjorn turret. Poking at the choke at the moment just to create some space here as the teleport is committed, and a bait out from the teleport, nobody taking it, but Haz is wise to the danger throw, take out up the saddle and tries to dive headlong into him. Also, with the Mercy Pocket at his back, will be able to get Shotta very, very low himself, crime with the micro missiles, finishing him off. A solid read from Incendia there so far.
Yeah, Vazdem running the oldest school dive I think you can get, the Winston, the Zarya, the Lucio. That is so old school. You just bubble the Winston speed boost in. That is just old school as old school can get. And they ran it and it didn't work. They're going to do some swaps now. They're going to go for a bit more long range, try and take angles, get the picks that they need, which is an extremely effective tactic on first point, but it's not that much on the second point.
Oh, Shotta taking out Haz here. Lucky he's got the Mercy at his back, which will res Haz up and give him a second piece of life. Frosty with this Shadow ready to go now. Low shield for him, however, he can't afford to let this drop just yet. The Shatter is waiting in the wings here, but they're also spread for the side of Vazdem. Ollie and Haz both have a pick a piece and might just bail their main tank out here. Ollie with a second, making that 3 for both DPS here, and someone contesting on the point, but not for long, as no burly characters remain for the side of Incendia. Mercy is the one nominated to storm up to the points and is straight into the arms of Up the Saddle will fall. Prime will finish off him with a punch to the chest, and that will do him in. But obviously, when we come to 2CP, the attackers will have spawn advantage. I don't believe anyone's going to try and touch this from Incendia, and a 2-minute cap. Not too bad, Arcas.
Yeah, no, as you said, the attacking side has the advantage. That's why the attacking should always end up taking first. They can just go the Widow, get a headshot. It could take them 4 minutes. If they get the headshot, that's 1 pick, and they just, even if they trade every single pick, they will have the advantage coming back in. On second point, it's completely reversed. So they do swap off the Widow. They're going to go on a face. They're going to look for some team wipes here.
Yeah, perhaps to partner with this Graviton Surge, but you also have this Nano Reinhardt to go in. Now the Diva Bomb sent in, and the Molten Core lapped on over the top. The Diva Bomb will find one, Haz finds another, and Ollie with the third. Up the saddle finishes off 2 members of Incendia, but once again, numbers not in his favor, and as you said, 2CP is a little bit of a horde mode, so they're going to have to do better than 2 picks if they want to get a tick here.
Yeah, they're going to have to do a lot better than 2 picks. They have, or Vazdem have 4 minutes left. They can once again just get all their ults and just go all at once. They have the time to do that, and that's really what you need to do. You can do that with 1, it might take 2. You can only get at least 1 tick, maybe 2.5, and you can just eke it out. So that is
absolutely.
That's a strategy that they should put some time into investing.
Yeah, Haz is just in this ridiculously difficult to deal with position on this top right hand here of the point, and is now having Fiery Quartz sent at him to try and deal with him. But look at the peel. I mean, the Diva mech is in Fiery Quartz's space, and she can't go anywhere. She's had to duplicate the Diva to try and get onto the point. A Shatter Sleep, pardon me, will take Frosty out of the fight temporarily. George finishing up the saddle, and the Diva Bomb let loose from Fiery Quartz will take out Prime. Ollie clapping back and finding one apiece here. Frosty will take a pin as well. Another Diva Bomb for Fiery Quartz just to keep all of the members at bay here as she tries her damnedest to get a tick, but no. The numbers once again aren't there. This is 2CP.
Yeah, Vazdem were playing very much a escort like map style, where they're going one fight after another, not thinking multiple fights ahead on their ultimate. They're just gonna say, okay, we're gonna pop 2 ults here and we're gonna take the fight here. That might get you a tick, but in the long run, you can't run that reliably. You can get maybe a tick here, maybe a tick there, but getting 3 running that strategy is an extremely difficult task with non restraints.
Oh, right, Shota is the man that they turn to in their hour of need to try and pry this point open. He finishes off Ultraviolet and earlier on had taken out Haz as well. Multicore is now on the point just to slow this down a little bit from Ollie, who's safe on this high ground until the Echo decides to set their eyes on him. Now the reinforcements will come through. Fiery Quartz happy on this high ground until Haz has anything to say about it. Who has gone to this Ash to try and get something done. Finds 2, finds 3, will find his demise at the hand of Olive. Not someone you see with a final blow necessarily, but Ollie holding this point down at the moment will fall as well, and Olive is finding picks. That is unbelievable. Up the saddle, the only remaining member on the point as it stands. Frosty is here ready to try and slow him down. Will take the pin and the resurrect coming through onto Ollie here, and Up the Saddle has no choice, even though they did win that fight quite decisively, to run away and reset. Oh my goodness, that's so unfortunate for Vazdem there.
Yeah, they're unable to get the point, but they were able to get the pick, the ult charge, and stayed alive on ground. That's going to bring them to a really nice spot coming into the fight after this.
God, the big dive onto Haz again to end it on that Ash that is being pocketed entirely. Up the Saddle is just allowed free reign on top of Frosty there to establish dominance. The Diva Bomb comes over the top thanks to the duplicate from Shota as well. Takes out George. Ultraviolet down as well to the hand of Fiery Quartz. The Dragon can take out Grim as well. There are so few members available now for Incendia. It's just like it. The pin comes on the point for Frosty as the Shatter, but he's going to be precious to use it soon as there's not much time left. The Immortality Seal comes out and the Shatter will land. Both Shatters for both teams. Up the Saddle comes out victorious here. The numbers just aren't there for Incendia, and as the numbers fade, the hope does too. And finally, after bashing their heads against the wall, Vazdem with 35 seconds in the bank will finish. Hanamura.
Yeah, just able to get it there in what was the last, well, there would have been one more fight, but the second to last fight there. So they have enough time on the bank where if Incendia were able to get a very high time, but they still have another attack. So that is extremely important as we go into the later rounds of this map. That's them putting themselves in a nice spot to at least contest this map, if not win it outright.
Yeah, absolutely. They need this, right? They need this map. They can't go 3-0 down in the finals. That is going to be such a mental boon to Vazdem. They need this map, right?
Yeah, it is extremely hard to give that rallying speech in that down 3, one more and you lose. I know from experience, it is extremely hard to give that speech. It can be done, but in the end, it's very unlikely that you lose the first 3 and that you come back in any way. It can happen. Vazdem don't even want to put that in their minds. They want to take this map so they can really start working the way back in the series, especially onto the next map, which is going to be Escort, which should favor them. We'll see when that comes. They will take an Escort map no matter what. But Vazdem looking to get something here. They need a map win, and they need it soon.
Absolutely, and this double shield setup might be the key here. Just bunker up, do as much damage as you can to Incendia coming through this choke point here, and make their lives hell as they get to the point, so that they don't have any resources when it comes to fighting on the point. This is exactly what this brawl wants to do, but it doesn't seem like Frosty has stopped very much getting to the point. Haz, however, on the other hand, will fall, and a storm arrow, or rather a sonar arrow to the back of Frosty's head will send him packing as well. His prime goes very, very low to Up the Saddle's arm, rocket launcher, arm. What is Arissa's weapon called, actually? Something cannon, I believe. But either way, they send Incendia packing, and they hold it off for a quick fight there, and will stabilize right now.
Yeah, this is the this is the effectiveness of the double shield, the high horse strategy. You just stick on the ground, you rotate the point if you need. Anyone that comes through just gets moved down, they get shot down, and that's where the Ashe one-hit potential and the Hanzo one-hit potential comes in. Such a high damage.
Yeah, a wonderful rotation to get to point here for Incendia, however, and they do send Up the Saddler very, very low indeed. He will fall to the hammer of Frosty here, as he is barely free to stay on this point now that he's close range. These tanks don't want to be anywhere near him from Vazdem, and numbers just not in the favor here, and they will come out to stop that LOS from Shota getting anything done. He's forced the coach gun onto point, will fall, and 5.5 minutes on the clock for Incendia to finish point B. I mean, pretty well played from the Brawl team, and they don't look like they're stopping here, Arcast. It looks like they're going straight away 2 points.
Yeah, no, this is going to be an ult fight, and they are taking it immediately. They already got one. This is working slowly for them.
Oh, absolutely. The amplification matrix coming out from Ollie, but he will fall there. The shatter committed from Frosty finds 2 off the back of that as well. They ult the Blizzard committed from Ollie onto the point and will take out the Mercy. And just 1 tick remains. This could be an absolutely blistering pace here. The Immortality field is committed as well and will be put onto the point. So there's nothing there for Olive to cower behind. Now Sync is the only player remaining who can touch. The reinforcements coming back, and the Supercharger is laid down by Up the Saddle, but Has is free in this backline here. No one can leave this point, so it's free to shoot these fish in that barrel. The numbers are thinning, however, for the side of Incendia, and they are in trouble. They need to close this out quickly. They don't seem to have the numbers. They are committed to beat, however, and Ultraviolet wants to shut this down right here, right now. Fiery Court back on this Torbjorn, trying to stabilize with the hail of his turrets as Has will fall. Ultraviolet takes out Fiery Court in retaliation here. Ollie trying to get back onto this point as the Knave nearly has another Blizzard ready to commit, but it doesn't look like they're going to do it, and they need to rethink their strategy, but not a bad start, Arcast.
Yeah, no, that was just a blitz coming in from Incendia. They should have, in theory, taken that. Just the stall came in from Vazdem just in the nick of time, and they're able to hold it out. It's going to be an extremely wild next few rounds as everyone's ults are in disarray. There's next to no real ult combinations you can run. I mean, High Noon Freeze. Like,
it's unorthodox.
Yeah, it's going to be a very intriguing next few minutes here.
It is. As the 2 teams clash up on high, you see the change to Brawl coming up from Vazdem as well here. Coalescence committed by George here, and the freeze will go through onto Sync, allowing that Blizzard to be dropped by Ollie. The double duplicate Reinhardt will fall onto their backs as Frosty finds 2 kills in the aid of Has. Will lose his own life, however, to the sticky bombs and Shotter, but can Incendia do enough now to close this out and get his time back. But they, quite frankly, do deserve this point. The picks are there, and it's just an echo on the point. 1 tip remains. Now it's up the Saddler's turn to step up to the plate. He drops a big fat shatter, but there's no one there for the follow-up, so he's forced to huddle like a turtle on his back in the point. Now the multiple committed. Up the Saddler will fall. Frosty taking out Fiery Corpse with that flame strike here. The echo is one back and then sent straight back by Has to his spawn. The Diva Bomb committed now from Sync just to try and get something done here, but there's no numbers there, and 3 minutes on the clock looks quite ginormous comparison to the 1 minute time bank that Vazdem has.
Yeah, Incendia just able to just ult. They had the ults. Vazdem had to use their ults at the end of the last fight to really secure it there, so they're farther down. It is an extremely volatile situation with all the ults, but Incendia just have a small bit of an advantage. They come in, they have just enough ults to get them through that fight. Vazdem come back in, they try and get the ults on. They're unable to because it's once again just trickling in the ults. It's a very nice stall tactic, and it got them quite a bit of time that they wouldn't have otherwise gotten with the Shatter, with the Molten Core, and I think something else. I'm not exactly sure though. Incendia though have the ults else like there as well. They had the bomb from the Crimes, but they didn't need it. They didn't use it. I thought when Diva Bomb went up in the sky from Sync, that it was Incendia's Diva Bomb, but it wasn't. They actually just didn't use it. But they could have, if needed. They built it up at the very end. That would have wiped the point pretty consistently there, and Vazdem just unable to sustain the point long enough.
Yeah, it's quite the shame there, but still, I mean, they're operating with some time back, right? There is still some opportunity for them to do as much damage as they can, and they're rolling out on that dive again with the Sombra, which will not quite work the first time. Perhaps they've re-looked the strategy and want to go again. It's certainly something that can work. Barra Mercy on to attack here, maybe just to put pressure on Has on this high ground. It's certainly what Up Sadler is trying to do here. Will take a coach gun to the face, and Has very quickly will fall there. Now just a Junkrat, so nothing really to deal with Shotter on this Barra, as the point is now so surrounded by members of Vazdem here. Junkrat nearly off the side there. Ollie nearly went for a dip in the water. Didn't quite get there, however, and Shotter is just free at the moment to try and poke at this point. But don't find any picks anytime soon, and they're in a little bit of trouble here. Crime will help with that, however, by finding Crime, taking out NSYNC, and Shotta also finding 2 there. The Barret in the skies will not be contested here, and that's 4 or 3 picks for Shotta in that fight, just as the overtime approaches, and they have the barrage ready to go.
Yeah, Vazdem, as much as they didn't have time, they kind of took their time there. They just went 1 pick after another. They immediately went on the Ashe. That's the crucial bit. The Ashe is no longer there. And they just one after another, and they take it. They're going to have Ult Sphere, and City are not. So they are in a place that they can take it. It's going to be a very, very close fight.
Oh yeah, I mean 7 seconds on the clock and someone needs to touch here. Shotta has this barrage ready to go, but he does opt to use it here just on the Reinhardt. Will find Ollie, but that's not nearly enough to finish this 2 seasons point. Has, on the other hand, has other ideas and will take the on-firing thoughts on this Sombra and will get resurrected up, however, but has also going down there. Crime with picks back, and of course here Frosty ending up falling as well in this Valkyrie Mercy in the corner. Cactus is not having the best off time here, and Sig is trying their best to hold them off. Will send their D.Va Bomb high and try and find a pick. George will go to that D.Va Bomb. Ultraviolet finding a kill. They're getting involved in the fist fight. Will find Fiery themselves, and Ollie going to work on this Junkrat, getting up, and the default will find Olive themselves, but Sync also taking him out, making him pay for his transgressions. Frosty now on this point, trying to slow this down. Has back on the Doomfist, coming in with a punch. Now the Primal Rage is unleashed by up the Saddler, but he's not touching, and the overtime ticks down. 3 points for Vazdem. Not bad, and potentially winnable.
Winnable? It is in a place where it can very easily be drawn as well. This Incendia just need to win the first point, which an attacking team has a heavy advantage to, especially on Hanamura. It is one of the best attacking, at least the first point is one of the best attacking maps in the game. Incendia likely going to at least draw this, which isn't the worst case scenario for Vazdem. The worst is just they lose, but there's enough maps here where they take a draw, they can still play, especially if they have a higher, just like more of a consistency long term. They're more reliable 5 hours into a gaming session. If they have that ability, which is very often untested, if the series doesn't go to this 7th, 8th, 9th map, you really don't get a feel for that for those long range games. Vazdem could very easily have that unknown factor to them where they could take it. Vazdem just gonna try and do whatever they can to just take the map here. They don't want to lose this. If they can get this, that is a huge win. And it's gonna be very hard since they're running the high horse strategy against the Symmetra, who can just teleport right past them.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's part in where the problem lies. If Incendia just wants to teleport to this point, there's not much that's going to be able to stop them, although it does seem as though Vazdem have set up on this point ready for that onslaught. The teleport is still committed, however, but they're going to have some trouble getting onto the point nonetheless, exactly as Frosty will fall to that focusing beam as Shotta quick to the danger, finding that pick immediately. Has also falling over to Fiery there. Fiery with the second pick onto George. As the Farah Mercy forced back, and Vazdem holding on to it for now. It's good that they held on the point, right? So that the teleport didn't quite work.
Yeah, that strategy they're running for is double shield, the high horse strategy, but they played a very low horse there. They were on the point. Teleport comes in. You expect when you hit the tab 15 seconds, or when you hit just to see the rosters for the enemy team in the 15 seconds of the game, you expect, and especially when you see Vazdem here, you expect, okay, they're going to be running on the high ground, but they're running on the point, and you don't really quite see that until the teleport already goes. Oh.
Yeah, and this huge rotation that's been taken by Incendia right now to try and bypass some of this double shield danger is cut down by Shotta there. But Ultraviolet will be rezzing up Ollie on this Barrow, who is now kind of free up on this top right. Gonna have to be attacked by Shotta, but now he's got the aid of the rest of Incendia at his back. So will not be doing that, as Olive will fall to Ollie here. The Barrow proving equally as effective for Incendia as it was for Vazdem on the attack, and now the picks are coming in quite hard and fast for Incendia, and all Vazdem can do now is hope for a draw.
I will not be denied.
Yeah, Vazdem, their draw likelihood is actually there. They're gonna, it's gonna be 5-5 here. Cactus swaps onto the Lucio, so they're gonna have no ult charge. George just used the Coalescence, so they're not gonna have any ult charge. Vazdem gonna have the early ults, and Incendia gonna have them for the next fight. It's gonna be 2, at most 3 fights here. Probably only 2. 1 really long fight, and then the overtime fight. So Vazdem will have the they have what they can dictate the pace of play here with their ults. They can pick this.
Absolutely, and it looks like the pace is indeed very, very fast here as Ollie goes in and it takes out Olive with that barrage before he can even drop that immortality field here. The Baron now rather free on this high ground to just shoot missiles down below. Diva Bomb in now over the top from Prime. We'll find anything other than a Torbjorn turret as Haz wins his 1v1 with Shotter there. Looking good for Incendia to finish this map. It's on 3-0 in the Series B. Immortality and Amplification Matrix drop now as George will fall to sink. Now the Dragon's taking out Olive as well to try to drop his Amplification Matrix to get something done. Frosty turning and swinging and finding 2 there himself. The Doomfist is back and will take out Haz. The pin onto the Wrecking Ball there from Frosty to get him way off the point here. Just the Lone Tracer remains for Vazdem to keep this alive here. Moira back as well now. Olive trying to do his best and the Lucio as well in Cactus trying to get this done, but the Coalescence from George does not miss and will punish anyone found out of position. Has back on this Tracer once again, trying to turn the tide here. A very low Olive strays on the point, trying to stay alive. Will use the fade to get away, but is dangerously low here. Crime finding Shotter as well as Haz is going ham on the opposition here. Vazdem backs up against the wall here with no numbers left, just a low Diva touching point here at the moment. It is neck and neck, and the overtime is so very close once again, but no numbers are there, and Incendia taking the map 3-0.
Wow.
I agree. Wow is correct. What an absolute rip-roarer of a 2CP. And like I said at the beginning of this, it's gonna be one of those maps that just comes down to one fight, and that's exactly what happened, right?
Yeah, that last fight, you could just see, looking at it, like, from an analyst point of view, you could just, like, or just from a game point of view, if you're the coach or the leader of the team, like that designated shot caller, you're looking, how do we win this? How do we win this? What do we get? There's nothing really Vazdem can do. They just basically swap their entire comp. They could build up Cactus's Lucio sound barrier, maybe the Tracer ult. Both those ults are still a while away. They're able to stall it for an incredibly long amount of time. Almost got the ults up, but Incendia just able to build those ults up faster. It's a stalemate, and you just have to look at it like, who can gain something in the fight to put the other team away? Because just trying to fight it out, brawl it out, you're not going to kill them quick enough. And we saw that happen. Only when Incendia were able to use the ults, the Valve, the bomb, were they able to finally take those kills and finally really wipe the point. Vazdem were very close to getting the ults themselves and then started to turn it around. But they're just barely there, getting the ults just in the nick of time once again.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there was a point where that final overtime fight was going on so long, I was like, surely this is going to start favoring Vazdem here, who are on the defense, who can just keep coming back, and they started to get 1-2 picks, and that's when, as the attackers, you're really looking to close that fight out as quickly as you can, because as soon as the opposing defense become a 6 again, you are in a world of trouble. But Haz came back on that Tracer and did a hell of a job just harassing, just building up to that pulse bomb. I think he finished that fight with like 85% to a pulse bomb in the first fight because it was his only fight on Tracer. So real credit to the attackers with raw grit to get in on that. It was unbelievable. Now we're headed to Havana, which is not as brawl favored as perhaps the other maps we played, Arcas have been, but potentially more sniper favored, right?
It's definitely a lot more of a rangy map. There's also nice high ground across all 3 points. It's very unique in that sense. It's very rangy, very high ground, low ground oriented. There's a lot of that. Like if you're going through just looking at the other maps, Dorado has just points where it's a bit of the lower ground is where all the fight happens. Usually just like the first point and the end, that's very, like there's no real high ground. This on Havana, there's high ground everywhere throughout every single part of the map, beginning to end of the point. So it'll be very interesting to see how that works, and especially with how they're running their ult economy. Incendia have been just able to pull the ults out just in the nick of time, while Vazdem have been a lot more liberal. They've been using, okay, we're going to do two ults here, going to try and win that fight, when they need to build the 6 ults. That strategy of ult economy usage works a lot better on maps like Escort. So we'll see if they are able to take the Escort map.
Absolutely. We are ready to head into Havana here. It is match and series point for Incendia here. Vazdem do need a little bit of a miracle, a slight uphill battle here coming in from them if they're going to reverse sweep Incendia and take this series to become the Xbox Tier 2 CGL champions. Now, we're seeing a lot of Ryan Diva here. Are you at all surprised at those comps? Because they still look like they're all running fairly brawly comps, both teams.
Yeah, well, this is the brawl composition that allows you to get high ground with the Diva. The Diva in this composition usually doesn't play the main, like a regular off-tank role. Actually, Insidia's just going to swap their entire comp.
Oh, yep, we got baited.
The last second.
Yeah, they're going for the double shield Bastion, which can work quite nastily if unprepared for it. And with a Widow on the side of Vazdem here, they might not be privy to the danger. This could all come down to which Widow finds a pick first, but with 2 shields in Shotter's face, I doubt it's going to be him, as Haz is pretty happy to shoot off this off angle and distract for long enough. Off screen, we see Haz will take out Shotter just as Sync is demeched there. So this is looking like a pretty convincing fight win already for them. Haz going wild on this Widow, finds a second as well. Ollie again with his second in this fight, not looking bad for the DPS line of Incendia so far.
Yeah, no, Incendia just got the pick right off the bat. That's all you could really wish for. Just instant picks allows you to push the payload. Because you can't contest the payload because you don't have enough damage, you don't have enough body, you don't have enough healing, depending on what the pick is. And that just goes through. The recontest is coming in there.
Absolutely it is, and Haz getting the better of his Widow counterpart once again, taking out Shotter there, fiery back on this soldier, but the tank configuration is out already by Ollie, and he set his sights on Fiery, will land load and take him out, as this payload is going to be unlocked so long as the remaining 2 tanks from Vazdem will be taken out. This Bastion now in quite a nice position, not going to be pushed, not in any danger whatsoever, as Haz is once again free in the shooting gallery. Diva Bomb sent up high. Oh my goodness, takes 3 out, I don't believe it. Turns the fight on a dime, and Sync being the sole savior for first point for Vazdem.
I get the feeling you're not taking this seriously.
Wow, that bomb came in clutch. That was an extraordinary bomb. Once again, Vazdem playing that strength of just able to just pop an ult, just use it, and they just did it in what was, in all regards, a lost fight. The respawns worked in, but the Bastion was set up in such a good spot that you really couldn't push in. Without that bomb, that would have gone to Incendia 7 out of 10 times.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it has not stopped Incendia wanting to push this point, and they will take out Cactus straight away. Amplification Matrix and Prophetic Flux connected onto the most part of the team here of Vazdem just to close this one out. They don't want to mess around anymore. They don't want any more Diva Bomb shenanigans. They want to get this taken care of, and Haz really wants to get this Golden Gun award at the end of the season, sort of like a Golden Boot for most confirmed eliminations. He is going absolutely wild on this Widow, and he's got the space to do it because of his counterpart who was on the Bastion. Ollie, who has now gone over to the Hanzo, is just making so much space along with the double shield tanks. It's really lining Haz up a treat.
Yeah, the Widow just has such a long sight range. There's multiple different angles that you're getting attacked from. There's shields in front of you, so even if you do spot the Widow that you want to take out, you sometimes can't even hit the Widow because there's too many shields in the way. So it's just all just compounding on each other to give Haas a lot of free ground.
I think Shota's going for a sneaky tire in the backline, but he's only got 99% of his ultimate, so he's had to bide his time. But he is in possession now and has 100% onto his tire ready to go. He lets it rip. Let's see what he can do with it. At the moment, just poking and prodding. Will find Ollie, but will be traded out by Crime. Spotted him hiding behind them there. So an even trade at the moment. This payload can very well still keep moving. EMP almost online for Fiery Quartz here, but Quartz has her sights set on this Widow, who has been such a thorn in the side of the opposition for so long here, has finally been contested. Even though we've got Ultraviolet as the Mercy Pocket on his side, Infosight's out for him as well, so he knows where that Sombra is at all times and may be able to win this Widow 1v1 equally. The sleep, however, onto Haz is so nice. His Shotta picks up the kill onto George. The anti-nade and Sync will follow up nice and swiftly on it. Cryptic Flux corrected from Crime. Will keep this payload going. Crime doing his best to turn the tide there, but all for naught. And finally, Vazdem has slowed the payload down once again.
Yeah, Vazdem with a really nice play there. The anti-nade, or the sleep, just I believe it was an anti-nade. The D.Va just cleaned up on it as well as the Widow. Yeah, so both just a full utilization of the utility that the Ana brings to the table. Didn't have to use an ult. They're gonna pre-ult here, which is a very smart play. Incendia making a lot of swaps here, gonna go off the Widow at an ult disadvantage, so they're gonna play it for a long game.
Yeah, you can play the bongo here as well, because that obviously charges your ult up more and you're doing more damage. So it makes a lot of sense, but the EMP does come out from Quartz and catches free, a sizable one, and now a D.Va bomb into the backline. Should be big, and that it is. It takes out the bongo, the Immortality Field, and the Mercy. Ultraviolet now back at spawn, and NSYNC is not finished just yet. He's going for Ollie, and will find that kill as well. And then sets his sights on Haz, finishing him off all the more. 3 kills for Sync in that fight, doing such a good job on this D.Va.
Yeah, just came in. Vazdem used the 3 ults, and Incendia used a bunch of ults, and now making even more swaps. You can't really play a long game with the ults when there's less than a minute left. Only half a minute coming up. They're at such an ult disadvantage, they might not be able to come back in without some free pop-off ult something.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, the hook does get the Reinhardt out of position. They're lost for words of what just happened, but the Nano committed onto God is now allowed to just push forward and bully Frosty out of position here into a spot of other Fiery Quartz finding a pick, and Shotta back on this Widow, found his stride and will be finding 2-3 picks. This fight over time now is in, and in trouble are the attackers. This is where the payload will stop, and all of a sudden, Incendia not looking so good.
Yeah, no, Vazdem, the map plays into their strategy. They're able to just utilize the strategy, and they're able to win the map. Incendia were able to build up 2 ults. I believe it was the Hog and the Baptiste. Only able to use the Hog, didn't get much out of it, unable to get much from it. We did see the hook from the Hog onto the Reinhardt of Vazdem that got the ult out, just a hook on the Shatter. That was huge, but it wasn't enough. Denying an ult is not the same as getting an ult off. There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And that only really helps when it gives you the ult advantage, or it gives you position to ult. Incendia just weren't in position, didn't have the ults. They might have been in position for something else, but just not to really capitalize on that Reinhardt hook. Unable to put the damage in, unable to really push forward. That's what happens when your off-tank isn't with you, going off on these wide flanks. It worked, it got the ult off, which puts them in a really nice place for the long run, but in the short term, it doesn't do much. It just gives you 5-10 seconds of displacement and one less ult when you're at such an ult disadvantage. It's just taking a grain of sand off the beach.
Yep, so now Incendia have to full hold if they want to stop this series here and now, and they're starting it off just right by holding right up against the spawn doors with a May McCree brawl style, which is broken out here. Fiery Quartz perhaps wise to the danger, and George going down. Fiery Quartz finding Frosty. This first point spawn door hold sometimes works, and well, sometimes it really doesn't. And I suppose all you can say is that 30 seconds have gone off the clock before Vazdem were able to push the cart at all, right?
Yeah, they were definitely going for the full hold on the 0.0 meters. Didn't quite work out, but Incendia gonna have 3 possible fights here, which is the advantage of holding that far forward. You won't have any of the high ground, but if you push in quick enough, you will get 3 fights here, 3 losses, 3 chances to hold.
Absolutely, as this fight breaks out on the point, crime very low here, forced back to the Mega Health Pack, but Sink didn't want to let him have it. He tried to chase and then decided against it, but the shatter coming through onto both attacks there from God. Once again, living up to his name, finding a godly shatter from the Divine Intervention of the B, and will find that, which allows them to very swiftly take first point. Now, for the first time in the series, Incendia have their backs up against the wall. They have to defend this for 5 minutes to take this series. I mean, what do you do if you're in this situation?
There's not much you can do. You can play out of your mind. You can have the ults, like every ult combination at the right time. But Vazdem, all they need to do is just one fight in 5 minutes. The odds you don't win a fight in 5 minutes are so incredibly low.
Yeah, absolutely, and Frosty going down right there might signal the demise. Shotter will take out George, one of his minds. Sink with the Diva Bomb over the top, behind him coming in Haz as well, trying to get as many angles on attack coming through. They might just be swinging this back on their heads. Haz is the man that they need to turn it around. Fiery Quartz, however, has his number, and no one can touch. No one's getting back here, and finally, Vazdem will take a map. 3-1 is the score.
Yeah, and Vazdem finally able to just put all the ults in at once. Just able to take the last point there. The map, the style of map really works well with the ult economy that they're running. Just the style of play that they're running there through the entire time was really well accustomed to their style. And they just executed everything at a really high level, where Incendia just they just didn't gel as well as Vazdem did on that map. Vazdem just took it to another level. There's a bit of me that, like, it's hard to distinguish what part of Vazdem play was helped with the map and what they just did really well there. So Vazdem did take their play up another level there, and they were also helped a lot by the map. So the next few maps are going to be very interesting if Vazdem can keep that play at that level without a map that really helps them. And there's going to be a map coming into that kind of helps, like, it doesn't really help or hinder anyone. It's King of the Hill, I believe, is the next map, right?
Yes, you are correct. It will be King of the Hill. But before we go to that, we are taking another short intermission. Can Vazdem reverse sweep Incendia, or are Incendia going to put the final nail in the coffin? Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss this. We'll see you in just a second. Welcome back to the EU CGL Tier 2 finals here. We have got Incendia versus Vazdem. Vazdem stealing a map from Incendia in a rather convincing fashion last map on Havana, but Incendia still on that match point. They need one map to win this series. As we go to King of the Hill, what do you expect, Cass?
This could go either way. Incendia already won a King of the Hill map on Oasis. If Vazdem were able to take this, they already won a hybrid map on King's Rail. If Vazdem were able to tie it up through 3, Incendia already won a 2CP map with Hanamura. So no matter how this goes, it's going to be Vazdem who are on an uphill battle the entire time here.
Yeah,
so
it certainly is. But I mean, that payload did not look comfortable for Incendia, so there is hope yet. But when you look at how convincing Oasis was, now that we're going back to another King of the Hill map, this might not look so good for Vazdem. So if I'm putting it to you, who do you think is going to win this next map? Do you think we've got a reverse sweep on our hands, or do you think that Incendia are going to lock it down right here, right now?
This could really go either way at this point. Incendia, at this point, if like series here roadmap. If we get to a map 7, which is another 2 CP, that heavily favors Incendia. That is where they could very easily plant their flag and say, we take it here. Vazdem, on this map, on Busan, there was enough play on the different maps that they could take it here. In my head, it's like 55-45, Incendia being 55, or 60-40. Incendia do have an advantage, but Vazdem are definitely not out. They could very easily take it, especially if we come in here and they start playing just as they did on last map on Havana, and it was not just the map, it was them just taking that play and just finding that second gear and just really going in. So we'll have to see how it goes. Incendia, though, I do think at this point they will end up taking series, although it might not be in this map, and I don't think it's going to be in this map per se. Okay,
well, I am putting my money on Incendia. I think they're going to wrap this up right here, right now, but there's only one way to find out. We are ready to jump into Busan. Here we go. It is match point for Incendia. Like I said, they just need to win Busan to turn this series in their favor once more and win the final, the Tier 2 final. So off we go here, and as we head to this map, I mean, there's a lot of variation on what you can play. A lot of Sigma Ball has been played on this map. The double shield looking like it's coming out for Incendia. I'm not sure that's what we'll stick with. But Vazdem also running the Brawl. So quite a difference. And here we go.
Yeah, Vazdem actually running the counter comp here. The Sombra to hack the shield with the a small bit of dive in the Brawl. So that is basically where you want to run against the double shield of composition here. So yeah, it's gonna put Vazdem in a very nice spot.
With no Lucio to get onto this double shield combo, they can always play Ring Around the Rosie with you. Ollie taking out Cactus straight away means that no mercy available here for Vazdem. But in a spot of bother doesn't move as quickly and as freely as perhaps they would like to. Shotta, however, will focus being down. Ollie making pay for that. And Frosty once again clapping back as well. Picks back and forth for either team, but the Resurrect will come through onto Ollie here. So numbers will favor Vazdem. As Zing, once again, he was so good on the last map, is now cleaning up kills and finding them for himself. Cactus down once again, perhaps caught out of position. Not something you want to happen here. And now the Reinhardt God is up in your face. There's not much you can do about it when Shotta's right behind him with a focusing beam. They did cap a point, Incendia, but only 28% on the point before Vazdem flip it over.
Yeah, that 29% could be what ends up taking this map, although Vazdem have a comp where they don't need to get on the point, they just need to play the point long enough to get their utility in of the Sombra, of the Echo, just get enough in to really be able to stake their claim on the point, put their teeth into it, and that's what we saw there throughout the fight. Ults on the line heavily here.
Yeah, and Valkyrie coming straight out from Ultraviolet as well as the Dragons now in. Not used with the Gravitic Flux, but matters not, as now it's the Demon Lord from Sin! It's enormous! It finds 2 ults used from Incendia, and they are still sent packing. Unbelievable!
That is exactly what Vazdem need. They don't use as many ults, and you still win the fight. They use 2. They get, what, 4 with 1 bomb? Incendia used 3, unable to take it. They're going to come in with 3 ults, Incendia. They will have the ult advantage coming in, but the longer this fight goes on, every fight here favors Vazdem the longer it goes. They're going to be able to build up another ult here as it goes on. They're going to have 2 here. They're about to build up that EMP as long as... Okay, they're not going to die. So, Incendia, I'm going to come in with the ult advantage, but it will not last.
Yeah, Gravitic Flux comes in for the EMP is even bigger. 5 people captured in firing towards his EMP. They will wrap this fight up nice and quickly there. I mean, clinical performances coming up from Vazdem at this point. 85% is on the clock for Vazdem, and someone from Incendia needs to touch. Crime has gone over to the Diva, presumably to be that person. This is looking good for Vazdem.
Yeah, it's going to be a very even ult fight here. Vazdem is going to be able to build the ult up longer it goes. So every single fight this map, it's just the longer it goes, the more it favors Vazdem.
Yeah, Shadow available for God here. He lets it loose and it finds two. Unbelievable from him. And the picks not once again are in their favor. Firing towards finding herself two picks right there, and then making this so difficult for Incendia to claw their way back in. The Duke will come online from Ollie here. Doesn't find anything to be taken out without duplicate form. His God is free to swing onto this point. Everybody on the side of Incendia is so very low. And 100 to 29 to Vazdem. They look like a different team from what we saw in the first 3 maps.
Yeah, Vazdem. They were able to build up another EMP there. Another EMP. Blows the mind how they're just so efficient. The time to kill is so small. Now, this has been a game of extremely long fights. Extremely long overtime fights, extremely long just general fights. And that favors Vazdem in that composition. And you saw it play out. Vazdem just went to town. Coming into the next map, it's gonna be very interesting here. It's not as much open space. It's on the low ground here, so there is a lot of high ground to be utilized here. Once again, that Somber might be the deciding factor.
Absolutely, it might be, as another brawl comp coming out, more of a mirror here, not quite exactly pound for pound the same sized packs for either team, but both want to do the same thing and get on that point and all as quickly as they can. The flashbang fits there onto God just to add a little bit of pressure, but Frosty is the one who's coming away with the cold shoulder there, not looking so great. Forced to back up. Crime also D-mech there, and the hack onto Ollie will cause the spot bother before he's out of that. God taking care of Frosty here. Looks like Vazdem is unlocking this point and taking it first of all.
Yeah, they just came in, got both tanks down. If you take out any line in a team, they almost always crumble, especially if they don't have any counters. The tank line's gone, you can't gain space. When the TFs are gone, you really can't do anything to just take any people out of the match. You lose your supports, all of a sudden you have nothing to sustain the fight. And what we saw there was the tanks just completely taken out.
Yeah, I mean, the Shatter was committed from God there, and it didn't look very good. It was straight across the shield, but he's under so much pressure that even though the Shatter didn't even hit him, it just meant that God was allowed to swing onto him, just take him out completely through completely vanilla tactics of just swinging on him and not putting your shield up ever. So, I mean, it seems as though Incendia are a little lost at the moment, but they do have this high noon ready to go, and it looks like Haz wants to let it loose right here, right now. That's exactly what he does. Finds one, maybe two. Indeed he does. Zinc and Nuff go down. But due to the Diva bomb being committed, it wasn't eating up that high noon. Frosty on his back as he's got there with the double pin coming in, but the picks are now favoring Incendia, and they might have flipped this point in their favor. Firing Cords will find Holly, however, but Haz is now back and active, making some noise. The stall will come through, and it's commendable from the side of Vazdem because they're going to get at least 70% on this point before it's flipped over. Looking good for Vazdem still.
Yeah, Vazdem are different. They didn't use their ults there, besides the bomb. This is completely different from everything we've seen them play throughout the series here. They saved their ult. They're going to come in with the ult advantage here and most likely win this fight. Probably with the initiation of the EMP, we'll see, but they're playing a very, very lucrative style.
Absolutely, no. Well, God goes down to that Diva Bomb, but the EMP coming out to swing this in the favor of Incendia here. Sync will take out Frosty. Picks are going either way here, and the Resurrect is sneaky from Ultraviolet there to find Frosty back into the fray to hold on to this point just a little longer. I mean, that really was down to the wire, but an EMP committed from Vazdem in a lost fight never feels good.
No, that was unusual for Vazdem for this map here. They just didn't get the EMP off like they would have. The ults were being used at the same time. They didn't combo the EMP there. They really couldn't. The ults were just coming in from Incendia on the time. And it's gonna be another ult fight here. Incendia gonna be the initiators.
Yes, certainly should be. But this duplicator ready to go. The shatter will go down onto God, and Frosty finds the pin onto him to the backline. Has this high noon, doesn't find anything with that pick. Now a Diva Bomb coming out from shot, and he duplicated the Diva. Another Diva Bomb lap on the top front. Sync finds two because the shield isn't there. Already shattered by the previous Diva Bomb. Unbelievable team play coming out there from Vazdem to win this fight. That is something special right there. That there's no way they planned for, but they sure as hell happy it worked out that way.
Now that might be a plan. You bomb them once, doesn't get them. You bomb them a second time to where they go. It's very hard to take out two bombs at once. You just you have to get the one spot on the triangle, like triangulate the one spot that isn't taken out by that, and you're just unable to get killed, and that's what happened there.
Diva Bomb now from Crime, doesn't find him anything right there, but the Shadow's available for Frosty. He lets it down 1-4, and Crime is there quickly to follow up with a second Reinhardt duplicate now on Ollie. The Shadow let down, doesn't find him anything. Kills are hard and fast in their favor here. Overtime is there, but Incendia are now flipping the point 99-87. This is really just down to one ult apiece, maybe two.
Yeah, Vazdem were able to... Incendia had ults that they didn't need to use, and Vazdem's Cactus got that ult off, and no one's actually going to be able to...
Oh, no one touches! And the high noon kills Shotter, even if he could have. I mean, well played from Has to be wise to the danger there, to set up for that high noon for anyone who's going to touch. But Incendia now have tied this map up. I mean, that was really well played by Has.
Yeah, just hate, like... The kill onto Fiery right before they could be, right before they could get out. They had the EMP and they're just unable to get anything with that. Without that stall there, the EMP would have came in, would have had everyone hacked. The coalescence would have came in, and the damage would have came in. The high noon, only thing that could have really countered it, without the fight going longer, and I think Vazdem would have had the advantage for the fight the longer the fight went on, especially with that EMP. So just not even getting the fight is the way to win that fight. The longer that would have gone, that he would not have won that without it going so long it reverses back into them. This is
absolutely. Now, the brawl is surely going to favor Vazdem here, who have this Lucio to be able to just move and maneuver around the map. But Ollie on this Pharah Mercy is just going to be such a pain for Vazdem to deal with here, and Firing Chord's going down. That Junkrat is a huge chunk of damage that's going to favor Incendia. Want to take this fight a lot slower. Frosty will fall to Sync, however, and they've swung this back potentially in their favor, not with Cactus going down, however. Sync trying their damnedest to carry his team on his back, finds another pick again, and Shotter's forced out on 70 HP to try and get away as quick as he can with his life. Here, Ollie is now just free to do a bunch of damage on this point, forced back on this McCree this time, trying to find some picks. Does just that, finds both supports now. Ollie between a rock and a hard place, forced to drop the barrage, finds two, and Has is back by that point, finds the Lucio as well, and they will flip the point. It's been very quick and fierce fights at the moment.
Yeah, Incendia though did have the advantage just by their comp. They had the long range on the high ground map. It's the best, or people say the best brawl map, has a lot of high ground, so it's very versatile, and they just have a longer range compared to the Junkrat. Maybe can't really contest there.
Oh, the shatter came down! One from God, which is quite good. Not many kills, and then Frosty said, my turn. Dropped it, he got 4, and now, once again, they're holding on to the point. It seems like Incendia are feeling themselves right now. The resurrect onto Ollie, who was victim to the previous shatter. Now, they are in a good position here. Ultimates are online, however, for Vazdem.
Yeah, Vazdem gonna come in with the 4 ults, gonna be ahead of Incendia by at least by 1, maybe 3, depending on how long the fight goes. Let's see how that does do. Incendia have to ult first, and they do.
Yeah, and they do. They drop the ult straight away, but the barrage, Ollie finds 1, and then barrage is gone out of the sky, finds 3. This man's unstoppable. He's in the air, and he is the top gun. He finds Cactus with a direct hit, and Sync has no choice but to jump off the map and GG go next fight. Oh my word, you'd have thought that would have been so in favor of Vazdem, but it's not, and now 75% on the point for them. It's not looking good.
It is not looking good at all. Now they're Vazdem's down in ults. They're gonna make a comp swap here to really try and just do something against the Pharah, and that's all they can do because they're gonna be down at ults. So they're gonna take the fight with Pharah and then get ulted down the middle. So it's gonna be very hard for them to really get anything off here.
Yeah, Sync sent that D.Va bomb in, I believe, over the top, trying to get something done there, and did not do quite that. Crime is denecked, however, by Shotta, so that means there's no D.Va on the side of Incendia at the moment. This Reinhardt Frosty is all on his own. Cactus will fall, and the Shatter will be dropped as well, however. Frosty still not wanting to be down and out just yet. That being said, this fight is turning on its head for the aid of Coalescence and having a D.Va that's not denecked just yet. Shotta has gone to work, and Sync is at his back. They flipped the point, and just in the nick of time.
That was so extremely close for Incendia to take it there. Vazdem just eke it out. They're gonna be at an ult disadvantage, but it is the Reinhardt Shatter, and that is a fight. That is an ult that can win a fight, even if you're going against 6 ults. You just hit one Shatter on everyone, and that is the fight right there. So it's very even. Incendia's gonna be even more ults coming in.
Yeah, this is so bad with Ollie just plaguing the backlines and the hit scan being an absolute nightmare. The high noon and the D.Va bomb going in. The self-destruct now. The barrage left on top. So many ultimates are being committed to this fight. Incendia wants it here and now. They're done playing with their food, cat and mouse style. They flip the point, and 99% fiery quartz does their damnedest to touch, and the barrage now comes out from Shot to do their best. Finds 2, but a blink strike quickly ends their life. Now the Wrecking Ball is back on the side of God, and they're trying and praying for something to happen here. Cactus gets the prickly side of a Reinhardt, and the Shatter comes down. The bomb will be out first, however. The boot bombs Frosty to try and get him dealt with, but it does not work, and the numbers once again are still in the side of Incendia. Reinforcements, however, now available, and Fiery Quartz drops the sights. Finds Ollie, but will be taken out by Frosty once again. Will not be removed from this point at the moment. Has back on this Tracer, and God, so very low on this Wrecking Ball. There's no one to touch. One member remains. Incendia, they've done it. There's just one person left, a coalescing Moira, and she will be snuffed out. And with that, Incendia will take map number 5.
Ooh, that last fight. That
last fight. I mean, Incendia are your Tier 2 EU champions. Congratulations to them. Commiserations to Vazdem. What a series we've had, Arcas.
Yeah, it's just every map besides the one that Vazdem took really could have gone either way. A lot of the time, it could have gone either way for just about everything. Yeah. And Incendia just that even in that last fight, it came down to which Moira could survive and get their ult out. Vazdem just die at 99 with that coalescence. They would have had it first. They could have sustained through the fight, but they just didn't have it, and they come back in once everyone's dead. It is not enough to stall through the fight. It was a very close series throughout, even though it was 4-1. That does not show how close of a series this was.
I agree.
Especially after the first map, like the first sub map of of Busan here. Vazdem just took that. That was possibly the most dominant dominant point we've seen in the series, and they didn't even end up winning the map.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was that the fights became so damn scrappy that most of the final fights, most of the overtime fights kept coming down to which players can individually pop off, rather than which team is better. It is which individual players, when it comes down to the 12th hour, can clutch up and find kills. And it seemed as though time and time again, Incendia did just that. So I think they're very deserving of the title of champions, but Vazdem really made them sweat for it, you know?
Yeah. Incendia were a lot of that individual play came down to just them getting the ults just in the nick of time. If the ult economies were off just by a tad, it could very easily could have gone to Vazdem for a lot of those maps. Vazdem, although they lost, when they won very convincingly. They won Havana. That was the only time that we didn't see a 2, like around like a .2. That was the only time we didn't see a .2. And when they won on Busan, that was I think the most difference of a like percentage from Oasis to Busan, the highest differential of percentage on a King of the Hill map. So Vazdem very dominant on their wins and took it very close to Incendia, but Incendia just has something about them just able to eke it out in the end.
They absolutely did. As far as MVP is concerned, who have you got your eye on? Because for me personally, I thought Haz was phenomenal. I thought that Haz on that DPS role was so very good. Throughout the series, was really putting up performances. And, I mean, it comes down to keeping them in the Busan map of stopping anyone from even touching with that Deadeye. I mean, there were so many moments like that came up that I think that Haz was phenomenal. Have you got any input on who you think should be MVP?
I think MVP should be Fiery from Vazdem, but from Incendia, who did win, that is a toss-up. There's a lot of really good support play that went under the radar. There was multiple times an ult would come out just to get multiple ults from the other side out, and that ended up really helping them in the ult economy later on. You can see that throughout the game, which is probably one of the reasons why they just were able to eke out most of the fights, just getting their ults in time, as well as this DPS play throughout the entire series. It was just consistently good from every single line.
Yeah, we also can't forget as well that Sync was phenomenal on Havana, where with the Diva bombs, I mean, just making clutch plays, it was absolutely amazing. Even on the quieter maps for Vazdem, honestly, I thought that Sync was a really competent player and kept Vazdem in it a lot. So there is something to be said for them as well. That's the thing. There's so many people, I think, is what you're saying as well. Is there's so many people who's deserving of this MVP award, but I think it would be remiss if we didn't give it to someone on Incendia. Personally,
yeah, it would probably have to go to Incendia. Like, the way if one line, tank line, DPS line, a support line goes down and it's not answered back, for Incendia, they just crumble. And that was basically throughout the whole time. And that often happens. But I think there was at least twice when Vazdem lost that, and they were still able to come back. So it's tough because they're just all working in just one big circle. You support you, you support you, you support you, and if one of those fall, the rest just kind of crumble with them. So picking an MVP is extremely hard because it's such a team, such high level team play that it's extremely hard to figure out, okay, who would have been if swapped team would have shined the most, and that's usually what I determine how MVP would have worked. So if I were to have one, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and rewatch specific plays to see who actually would get the MVP from me.
Well, mine, I think, is Hazonix. I think Haz was a shining star from Incendia personally, but that is just what I think. So I believe that we are all done here, unless we are taking it to another break before the post show, or are we continuing? Fantastic. That brings us to the end. Thank you so much for joining us for the CGL EU Tier 2 Xbox Finals. You guys have been wonderful. Arcast, thank you for joining us, and Headrammer in the back, thank you very much. I've been Simbabble. Incendia, congratulations once more, and commiserations to Vazdem. Any closing thoughts, Arcast?
Very close game. I'm glad I could cast it. Yeah. If this is what the rest of the finals have in store, it's going to be one great week of action.
Yeah, don't forget, we have got finals coming up all this week, so make sure that you are following the CGL Twitch so that you don't miss any of those. Like I said, I've been Simbabble, Arcast below, we've got Headrammer in the back doing production. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.